for the song? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavi Adi Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajana Jasodanandana Brajajana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Astatarasatasi Srimad Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi. I think we should do a little background on the subject matter that we're discussing. Brahma's prayers to Krishna in Vrindavan. You know who is Brahma? Lord Brahma? Yes? No? Little bit? Little bit. Not at all, huh? Okay. Okay. Before the universe was created, there was a creator of the universe. The Vedic picture of time is time moves in cycles, just like it's winter or becoming winter. So after winter, what comes next? Spring. Then summer, then fall, then winter, then spring, then summer, then fall. So the seasons move in cycles. Day and night moves in cycles. In short, time moves in cycles. Time moves in cycles. And Hare Krishna. The universe comes into being, but before it comes into being, there's nothing. Or there's darkness in all directions. And Lord Brahma is the firstborn living being. Lord Brahma is the firstborn living being, according to the Vedic picture. And he is directly born from the body of Vishnu. He's the son of Vishnu. And before Brahma's function is to create the universe, build the universe, Brahma's function is to build the universe. And before he builds the universe, he does austerity. You don't like the word austerity?
No, I like which means like what does that mean?
Austerity?
Yeah.
You control the senses in a very regulated and a stern kind of intense manner.
Okay.
He was doing meditation in a place where there wasn't anything yet. There was no planets, there was no sun, there was no moon, there was no electricity. It was darkness in all directions. In this big hollow of the shell of the universe. He was the firstborn living being. There isn't anybody else to talk to, nobody to play with. Nothing. Just nothing. So for a long period of time, 1,000 celestial years, he underwent austerity. His austerity was in meditation. He was chanting his mantra, and because he received mantra from Vishnu. And he then saw the personality of Godhead in this ocean of darkness in all directions. And Lord Vishnu gave him instructions, gave him teachings, and imparted wisdom into his heart. And then he went about the business of building the universe. And after he built the universe, he then had to populate the universe with living entities. He is empowered to do that also. The forefather Prajapati in Sanskrit, Praja, Pati, Pati means father. Pati means father. And Praja means children. Praja, Pati, the father of children, the father of all mankind, Lord Brahma. So we're his grandchildren. He's granddad, Brahma. And during the period of the universe existing, he lived for the whole duration of the universe. And each day of Brahma lasts for a long time. 4,320,000,000 years is one day. 4,300,000,000 of our earthly solar years. 4,320,000,000 of our years is one of his days. And his night is of equal duration because he sleeps at night too. Sun goes down and comes up. So he lives a long time. And during each one of his days, he descends to pay his respects to Krishna. Because Brahmaloka is at the top of the universe, and this earthly planetary region is the middle, and then there's lower planetary systems also, below the earthly realm. So he's at the top, and he descends to this earthly realm to offer his respects to Krishna. So one time, when he came to pay his respects to Krishna, he witnessed one of Krishna's pastimes. Maybe you've read about it. Do you have a Krishna book? Krishna book? Yes? So one of those demons that Krishna killed was big serpent. 12-mile long serpent, big guy. His name was Aghasura. Aghasura. Agha means sin. He was like a bad guy. That was not a very pleasant name for a mother to give to her son. Agha. And he was an asura, a demon. That was his name, Aghasura. So when Aghasura was killed, the soul left the body of that big serpent and merged into the body of Krishna. And Brahma saw the whole thing. And then just after Aghasura was killed, the cowherd boys, Krishna has lots of friends, and calves, because they were, at this time they're just 5 years old, they went to have lunch. And as they were sitting having lunch, Brahma went, wow, how powerful is he? I wonder if I show my power, what he will do. How much, maybe he'll show me what is the limit of his power. So he did that. He took the calves, put them in a cave. And when Krishna went to look for the calves, he took the cowherd boys and put them in a cave. And when he went back to see what would Krishna do, he saw the calves and the cowherd boys. And he was, what? So he went back to the cave, and they were in the cave. Then he went back to where they were having lunch, and they're having lunch. And then Krishna showed Brahma that he just manifested exact likenesses of each boy and each calf, although it was Krishna. It just looked like the calves, and they looked like the cowherd boys, but they were Krishna. And then he showed each one of the calves and cowherd boys forms of Narayana. Narayana, forearm form, the symbols of Vishnu in his hand, and, decked out, and all of the opulences personified, all of his potencies, which are without limit, personified, each one of the Narayan forms offering prayers, personified Vedas, offering prayers. It was a whole lot of noise, a whole lot of people. Then he saw the universes, plural, and then poof, Krishna withdrew all of that within him. And there he stood before Brahma, 5-year-old boy, smiling. You wanted to see my opulences? There you go. There's no limit. So then Brahma offered prayers. That's where we are. We're reading Brahma's prayers. And the particular prayer that we're reading, for those of you that want to look it up, we're going to chant the verse together. It's 10:14:8. Bhagavatam 10:14:8. 10:14:8. And because Brahma has made this mistake of challenging Krishna and kidnapping, I mean, you go to jail for stuff like that, kidnapping the cowherd boys and the calves. So he knows he's going to get a reaction for that misdeed. So this is a verse, text 8, that's explaining how he is going to respond to the misdeed that's coming to him. 10:14:8. So let's say the verse together, and then we'll read the translation. Tate nukampam susamikshamano bhujan evatma kritam vipakam vidvagvapurbir vididhan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. One more. Tate nukampam susamikshamano bhujana evatma kritam prapakam vidvagvapurbir vididhan namaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. It's a celebrated verse, that's why we chanted the Sanskrit, and it's mentioned here and there again and again, because it's a teaching. Brahma is the head of our sampradaya. Sampradaya means a line of teachers and students who then become teachers, who have their students, who then become teachers, who have their students. That spans over many, many generations. And Krishna is the source of that. Krishna taught Brahma, and Brahma taught everybody else. So he's the head. So he's speaking authoritatively what we should do when we have some misfortune come our way. It happens, even to good people. Misfortune comes. And how are you to handle it? How are you to process it? How are you to respond? So his teaching is what he's going to do. And the elements of this are, whatever this misfortune that's coming, I'm simply going to accept it because I've done a misdeed, and therefore it's only fitting that there's some reaction for that misdeed. I'll accept it. I'm not going to try to work around it or problem solve or diminish the effect. Whatever it is, I simply accept. And then inside, what I will do instead of trying to solve the problem is I'll keep my consciousness. I may do, we may do something when the misfortune comes. We may take some action or say something or whatever. Let's say, there's a hurricane and it knocks your house over. Okay, so you have to fix your house. You do something, but throughout the misfortune that comes your way, you keep your consciousness absorbed in remembrance of your relationship with Krishna, offering respectful obeisances with heart, words, and body. One who does like that, two things. He's eligible for liberation. Eligible for liberation. Mukti Pade is the name of the giver of liberation. Now, Mukti Pade, the giver of liberation, that's Vishnu. And he gives charity, daya. back. He's the giver of charity. He gives his own abode to those persons who take shelter of him, regardless of whether the wind is blowing this way or that way. Time and circumstance change. Time moves things. Time moves hurricanes. Time moves not just, the clock on the wall. Time moves matter. And as matter moves through the changing of time, regardless of which way that time is moving matter, I personally dedicate myself, Brahma is personally dedicating himself to staying fixed in the remembrance of the personality of Godhead and his relationship with him. So you can reprimand me however you feel is appropriate. You can award me however you feel is appropriate. Whatever it is, it's our relationship is what's important to me. And I won't budge an inch from that position. My body, my mind, and my heart are dedicated to you. So one who does like that, liberation is theirs. That is, the cycle of birth and death is broken. Okay, so that's the verse, and we're going to hear a little bit from commentary. I'm going to start with, we've read a few already, so we're just continuing. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that's the name of one of our previous acharyas, a very important person. He lived in Vrindavan. He lived in Vrindavan for a long time. In the early 1800s was around the time that he lived there. And he wrote extensively. So here's his commentary in this verse. Now that other processes have been rejected and bhakti accepted as the process to attain Bhagavan, that's in the previous verses, the process of bhakti is described. Quote, the devotee understands that the happiness and distress that he experiences due to performing bhakti and committing aparads are the mercy of the Lord. He's a rasika bhakta. He sees everything through the lens of devotion. So supposing somebody's not a devotee, even somebody's a devotee, they may do some misdeeds. Something that they shouldn't do. They became angry and they screamed at somebody or something. So they became angry or whatever. Something that wasn't. It was a wrongdoing. It was something that wasn't right. For those things, present and past, there's something that comes your way. We discussed this verse just this morning with devotees from China. There were about 150 devotees from China attending a class. Our morning is their evening. It was Monday evening. So we discussed this verse. They when asking a question about this text, they misunderstood the message of the text. It's not just when happiness comes, or it's not just when distress comes, it's supposing misfortune comes. Now, how do you interpret that misfortune? Or when good fortune comes, how do you interpret that good fortune? Different people are going to interpret events in a different way, just like, the bell ringing. You're the hostess at your house, so you want to go to the door, and so it's maybe, oh, someone's coming. Oh no, I'm interrupting the class. So one experience can be happiness for one person and distress for another person, the same event. So the event is not the happiness and distress. That's what we're experiencing. The event is the event. And we're interpreting it as happiness or distress. I'll give a little example because it's coming to mind. For many years, I was serving as a brahmachari in the temple in New York. And the temple in New York was just on the other side of the Manhattan Bridge in Brooklyn. That's where the temple was. So every evening, when we would come back from performing street sankirtan, chanting and distributing magazines and so forth, we'd come back over the Manhattan Bridge. And as we were going over the Manhattan Bridge, just on the Manhattan side of the Manhattan Bridge is Chinatown. And in the evening, people in Chinatown cook. Smells really bad. We'd have to roll up the window and do like this because, but for them, it's dinner time. And to them, it's like, they're getting really into it. But for me, it was like, phew. It's the same thing. There's the object of, for one person it's distress, and if the other person it's happiness. So we're experiencing distress and happiness based upon how we interpret sense perception. One set of senses it's happiness, another set of senses it's unhappiness. So the message here is that when we're moving through life, we're walking down the path of life, and here comes something. And for one person it's happiness, for another person it's distress. For a devotee, Brahma's teaching is, there's neither happiness nor distress out of the senses and sense objects. It's in sense and sense object experience, but real happiness is one thing. That's one's relationship with Krishna. All right. One's relationship with Krishna. We'll try it again. Real happiness is being situated in one's relationship with Krishna. Real distress is being separated from that relationship with Krishna. So for the devotee that has that attachment to the lotus feet of Krishna, that's happiness. The sensory experience of what's out there and what's coming your way as you're moving along your path today is neither happiness nor distress. It's you can say good fortune, ill fortune. Shubha Shabha Palayar Evam Mokshase Karma Bandhanai, in the language of Bhagavad Gita. The process of bhakti, it dismisses any even sense of Shubha and Ashubha, auspicious, inauspicious. Shubha, Ashubha, auspicious, inauspicious. What's really inauspicious is forgetting Krishna. What's really auspicious is being connected with Krishna. That's real happiness, it's real auspicious. So for the devotee, this is Brahma's prayer. Here comes some misfortune. It's not the misfortune of forgetting Krishna, because I'm not going to leave that. I'm fixed. I'm attached. I'm connected. There's no disconnection for such a person like Brahma. So I did a misdeed. Something is going to come to me. I accept it, whatever it is, but I won't budge an inch from this one position of being absorbed in dedication of my body, my words, and my heart to your service, Krishna. He's speaking to Krishna. So we don't have the privilege of standing before Krishna in a 5-year-old boy form where he's holding a lump of yogurt and waiting to go back to have lunch with the cowherd boys. We're not going to be so fortunate, very likely. But we have some relationship with him, an eternal relationship. And when misfortune comes our way, how do we handle it? That's the topic. And they handle it by staying fixed in your relationship with Krishna or striving for that. Because that's shelter. That's what our real support is. I meant to send to you a link for an interview. Have any of you been to Vrindavan? No? Someday may you all go to Vrindavan. There's a very dear friend of mine named Borijan, and he's married. He has 2 grown-up children. His wife is Jagatarini. He's from New York. She's from Australia. She has an Australian accent. So she's being interviewed about what it's like for you, because she spent so many years of her life in Vrindavan, to not be in Vrindavan because they can't travel into India today. So, but Vrindavan is in her heart. So how does she keep Vrindavan in her heart, although she's in Perth, Australia, with her husband? So she described the 3 most wonderful, memorable experiences for her in Vrindavan. And she's done lots of things, like lots of things. She lived there. They conduct retreats and seminars and japa retreats and Bhagavatam seminars, and she's a very deep person. She was sharing in this interview the 3 most memorable moments were when she broke her leg, and then she did something. Another time was when, I forget exactly what. She did something to her ankle, and then she got malaria. And it was interesting what she said, because it wasn't so much like painful, but I was helpless. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And I felt like a little baby in a mother's arms. I felt sheltered by the Dham. Everything is okay. Like a small child, feeling the protection, the gentleness of the Holy Dham, like the gentleness of a mother affectionately caring for her child. That was the most memorable, 3 most memorable events. So misfortune, broken something, twisted ankle something, malaria something, that's not joy, materially speaking. But the joy is the sense of comfort, protection, shelter, being cared for by the Holy Dham, Vrindavan, because that was the topic about Vrindavan. So misfortune can be a great joy, provided it's seen as something that draws you closer to your place of real shelter. That's what Brahma's prayer is saying. Now he's putting it in terms of, okay, I'm a devotee, and in the course of my devotional service, I made an offense of some kind. And so there's something that arises because of that offense. In this case, Brahma offended Krishna, and that's pretty serious. So he writes, the devotee understands that the happiness and distress that he experiences due to performing bhakti and committing aparads, the happiness and distress that he experiences are the mercy of the Lord. It is like the father who sometimes makes his child drink milk and sometimes makes him drink bitter neem juice. Neem juice? Neem juice is bitter.
What's neem juice?
Neem is a tree, the tree that has leaves, and it's used to make things bitter. It's sometimes as a preparation, like a vegetable. Neem leaves. It's really bitter, but it's really good. It stimulates digestive juices in the stomach, so it usually comes at the very beginning of a meal. Neem. Ooh, bitter. Ooh. So sometimes the father may give bitter neem juice for stimulating digestion, or sometimes may give milk. Sometimes the father embraces and kisses him, and sometimes he reprimands him. The devotee thinks that this is the arrangement of the Lord working for his benefit. In this way, the Lord knows and I do not know. Karma and time have no effect on the devotee, so it is his personal arrangement. By his mercy, he sometimes gives me happiness and sometimes gives me distress, considering how to engage me in his service. And then he makes reference to a verse from Canto 4, which is King Prithu. King Prithu. King Prithu is one of the incarnations or forms of the Lord that appear in this world. He's an empowered incarnation.
Okay.
He became a king. And when he's placed on the throne and the ceremony for his coronation is made, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma all come to honor him. So he's like, wow. And then he offers a prayer to Vishnu saying, I know that you've come to offer a benediction, but rather than you asking me what benediction I would like, rather whatever you think is best, because you know best. Whatever you think is best, like, Father knows best.
Okay.
There was a TV show called Father Knows Best when I was a kid. So, does he?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Dad didn't catch it. The translation of the verse from the 4th canto, Yata charet balahitam pita, there's pita, that means father. Svayam tatatvam evaharsi, evarhasi na samhitam. Or, as the Father does what is beneficial for the Son, so you are engaged in arrangements for my benefit. This is Prithu to Vishnu. It's going to be quoted again, so get ready. The person who spends his life offering respects with body, mind, and words unto the lotus feet of the Lord, like Prithu Maharaj, does not accept the suffering of austerities and other hardships. So you didn't know what austerities meant, but now you have some idea, right? You undergo some constraint, self-restraint. That's austerity. And that may seem like, oh, it hurts. But the devotee doesn't feel, oh, it hurts. For the devotee, they don't feel suffering. They feel, if it's for the purpose of satisfying Vishnu, that's happiness. Because the happiness is the relationship with Vishnu, not the constraint or the austerity or other hardships. He becomes the recipient or diabak of two results. What's that? Liberation from material bondage, mukti pade. We already discussed that. Pade means feet. Pada. At the feet of Vishnu, there's mukti. He gives mukti. Mukti pade. But more than that, he gives devotional service. Say it again. Devotional service is beyond liberation. Or say it the other way. When you have devotional service, you're in the liberated state. When you have $1,000, you have $10 and $100. What to speak of $1 million? Within the $1 million is the $10, $100. So he gives liberation, but more than gives liberation, he gives his devotional service. So one who's fixed in, I only want devotional service, gets devotional service. Even in tribulation. Even when there's misfortune or something difficult going on. Outside. It smells bad crossing the Manhattan Bridge in the evening time. But we'll get to the other side and we'll see the deities and have Sankirtan and, it's like, it's okay. Such a devotee becomes the recipient, we did that, of two results. As the inheritance, now this is commentary, as the inheritance from the Father is the livelihood for the Son, so also the attainment of liberation and service to the Lord maintains the life of the devotee. And while living in this world, the devotee remains fixed on the path of devotion. That's nice. That's what Brahma's verse is saying. Bhagavatam speaks it like this. Dhritaya eva svastanti ashubha. There we are. Ashubha, shubha, ashubha. Batau yadi te nuvidha, or the jiva's life becomes successful by offering devotion to you. Otherwise, the body is just like the bellows inhaling and exhaling air. So bellows of a blacksmith, it's leather and so two boards on either side, and they move it like this to make the air blow, to make the fire hot, to make the blacksmith fire, red hot. So bellows also breathe, and one who breathes but doesn't have that devotion, their breathing is they're not alive. The bellows of a blacksmith are not alive, and life is dedication to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, the breathing is no better than the bellows breathing. This is a verse from one of the final chapters of Canto 10, chapter 87. And the translation in the Bhagavatam is, only if they become your faithful followers are those who breathe actually alive. Otherwise, their breathing is like that of a bellows. We're going to do one more commentary, and then that's it. This commentator is Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami is one of the intimate followers and disciples of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya? Okay, Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya gave this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Is Krishna himself teaching how to take full shelter of Krishna. Krishna taught Bhagavad Gita. Very soon we'll be observing Gita Jayanti. And during the final concluding section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches to surrender to him. And that concludes Bhagavad Gita's message. And after Krishna departed, the Dwapara Yuga ended and Kali Yuga began. We're in Kali Yuga now, the age of quarrel. So Krishna considered, how will people know how to do this? Take shelter of me, become my devotee. They won't know how to do this. So let me come and teach people how to do this. That's Lord Chaitanya. By chanting a Hare Krishna mantra and following the process of bhakti is how you take shelter of Krishna. So that's what he taught. And yeah, Jiva Goswami is one of his chief followers. So he's writing a commentary on this verse. That's what we're reading next. Jiva Goswami writes, one should regard one's various present karmas as earned by one's own actions, atma kritam, and necessary to be experienced. If I've done something, I'm responsible. I made some choices. Sometime back there, I made some choices. Today, I'm getting the good fortune, ill fortune of those past choices. And it's necessary. Therefore, one does not consider happiness and distress arising in those conditions. I'm receiving the fruit of my own deeds, good, bad, and mixed. And so my real happiness is not, what's the reaction today? You know, is it cold in Chicago, or is it mild in Chicago, or is it warm in Chicago? That the weather's going to change. Wait a while. It's Chicago. The weather's going to change. And so what's really important is my relationship with Krishna. That's what real happiness is, not what the weather is, or good fortune, ill fortune. That's going to come anyway. That's the message from Jiva Goswami. One offers respect to you with attachment. You, Krishna. Brahma speaking to Krishna. One offers respect to you with attachment, using mind, body, and words in order to develop a taste for your topics. Taste for your topics is something that came in verse 3. This is verse 8. Taste for the dedication to the topics of Krishna is the means of being connected to Krishna, or knowing Krishna, or feeling attachment to Krishna, as it's speaking here. One offers respects to you with attachment, using mind, body, and words in order to develop a taste for your topics, as described in verse 5, as well as verse 3. Other types of bhakti, which inculcate humility, are also included. Your lotus feet are called mukti. That's mukti pade. It's right in the verse. Mukti pade sadayabhak. And he quotes, Jiva Goswami quotes a verse from Canto 1, Chapter 18. It's about Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit, the great devotee with pure intelligence, attained liberation in the form of the feet of the Lord, having a flag marked with Garuda through knowledge spoken by Shukadev. So Shukadev is a speaker of the Bhagavatam. Maharaj Parikshit is one who heard from him. And he achieved liberation just by hearing from Shukadev. He attained the feet that gives liberation, the feet of the personality of Godhead. Here's another verse. Jiva Goswami is just supporting his statements, but it's Canto 2, Chapter 10. In this Purana, there are 10 topics. In this Purana, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 topics. It lists them. Creation, secondary creation, Protection, mercy of the Lord. That's 4. Material activities, the conduct of the Manus. That's 6. Stories of the Lord, destruction of the universe, liberation, and ultimate shelter. Those are the 10 topics in the Bhagavatam. The Sanskrit is there, but 10 topics. So the last 2 are liberation. So he focuses on that. In this statement, Bhagavan is the shelter, a pade of mukti, the 9th of the 10 items. There's 10. So when the Bhagavatam speaks of liberation, it does speak of liberation, and it means liberation means taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, or Swarupena Vyavastati in the 10th canto, in the 10th chapter. Swarupa is one's own form. Swarupa. Vyavastati means being situated in. Real liberation is being situated in your spiritual identity, and you do spiritual activities with your spiritual form. That's liberation, according to the Bhagavatam. There are other ideas of liberation. The more common idea, the popular one, is becoming one with the Supreme. But becoming one with the Supreme, there's no service, because you're one with the Supreme. Service, there has to be servitor and served, and the exchange. That's 3 things. But becoming one with Supreme, Sayuja Mukti, Mukti is often thought of as becoming one with the Supreme, right? That means, like, everybody knows that one. Becoming one with the Supreme. The Bhagavatam teaches no. Beyond becoming one with Supreme is Swarupena Vyavastati. You take shelter of eternal service in your spiritual form, to the spiritual form of Krishna. That's liberation. Mukti pade. You are that devotee's portion, that is the daya, charity, daya, mercy. So Krishna, Mukti Pade, the Lord Vishnu gives mercy in the form of the Father's property. The Father maintains the children with his property. Vishnu maintained his devotee by giving his property, his abode, to his devotee. And he gives that to those who want it, who want his service and his shelter and his protection. There's some people that don't want his service. They don't want his shelter. They don't want his protection. And they struggle very hard. Everyone knows what that is. It's right in Bhagavad Gita. Daivihiyesha gunamayi mama maya doratyaya. Right in Bhagavad Gita. This material energy is very difficult, and one can struggle perpetually, lifetime after lifetime. Or one doesn't have to struggle at all. And what that not struggle at all is, Mami vaye prapadyante. Prapadyante means surrender. You take shelter of the most wealthy father. Your needs are taken care of. You don't have to struggle. Everything's there. If you do something, be out of service to that person, that magnanimous person who is your father, but you don't have to struggle for maintenance. You're maintained. You engage in loving exchanges with that magnanimous, all-powerful, all-opulent father, and that's what you do. You don't struggle. You engage in loving exchanges, in loving service. Sridhar Swami says that without living, or jiveta, the devotee, like the property claimant, cannot claim liberation. In this matter, material intelligence is forbidden, but even without speculating, we know that the living son inherits the property. I mean, that's the law in India, right? The son inherits the property of the father, the eldest son. He also inherits the debts, but he inherits the property of the father. That's the law. So as there is that modern law, it comes from the spiritual law. In terms of this verse, the person on the path of bhakti receives the property since he is really living. The really living means, the jiveta means body, mind, and words dedicated to the service of the Supreme. That's really living. That's real happiness. It's real life of a living entity. And the other is like breathing without that. It's the bellows of a blacksmith. Not real life. That's what the verse is saying. Again, he ends, and we're ending with this. He quotes the verse from 10th Canto, chapter 87. Only if they become your faithful followers are those who breathe actually alive. Otherwise, their breathing is like that of a bellows. And that's the end. So for this evening, there's more tomorrow morning. Summary, and then we'll see if there's some discussion. Lord Brahma, our young, what's your name? What's your son's name?
Sakitin.
Satyajin?
Sakitin.
Sakit.
Satvik.
S-A-K-E. Sakit.
Sakit. Okay. Sakit can share with us what he learned this evening about I'll say it. I'll remind Sakit. Oh, you okay? Brahma is the creator of this universe. He's receives all Vedic knowledge directly from Krishna, and then he builds the universe. And then he's teaching us, because he's the head of our disciplic line of teachers and students, going back to Krishna, he's teaching us how we should deal with misfortune when it comes, because sometimes it comes. And the main message on the positive side is this word jiveta, that is, jiva, it's, the life of the living entity is dedication, tanavan manobir, dedication of body, tanu, mind, and tanu van, vak, that's speech, body, words, and mind, to the personality of Godhead's service. That's jiveta. We when misfortune comes, don't leave that position. When good fortune comes, don't leave that position. There's one thing. That's what life is. That's life is dedication to the relationship with our Father, eternal Father, Lord Vishnu. And one who takes that position, they can handle good fortune, ill fortune, and not be moved around like a flag in the wind, or a ship without a rudder, just being moved here and there by the waves, and the waves go this way, and waves go that way, and life tosses us around. One can stay straight towards the position of liberation. And liberation is the position of having a spiritual form. Even within this body, there's a soul, and the soul has form. And that soul has spiritual senses and spiritual intelligence and spiritual mind. And we engage those things, even the material coverings, in service to the Supreme, and we're guaranteed to become the inheritor of our Father's property. The Father's property is the kingdom of God. we enter into that realm, the kingdom of God realm. And if we don't do that, repetition in the cycle of birth and death, and being tossed around by the waves of good fortune, ill fortune, and we don't know what's next. That's how we deal with misfortune when it comes. So he's speaking this way because he did a wrong thing. He stole the cowherd boys. He kidnapped the cowherd boys. So he's, put me in jail for kidnapping if that's what you feel is appropriate. I'll accept whatever you feel is appropriate. But I will not budge an inch from my dedication to my relationship with you and serving you. Now, that's a nice idea, and it's not easy to accomplish that, because when misfortune comes, when you get kicked in the shins, you go, ouch. It hurts. When misfortune comes, it hurts. It doesn't mean you don't deal with the hurt, but you don't leave take some practical action. You may go to a doctor if you got kicked in the shins or got in a car accident or some other kind of misfortune. You do practical things, but don't deviate from the position of shelter while you're making practical arrangements to deal with circumstances of life. So let's see if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, I just want to understand, we chant to eradicate sins, to serve Guru and Krishna, but again, knowingly or unknowingly, we do something and accumulate again the sin. So is that correct understanding? Do we accumulate sins again if we do something knowingly or unknowingly wrong?
Well, let me just go back to the preamble of your question. One way is to say we chant in order to free ourselves from sin. Another way to say is we chant, and when we chant, a byproduct is we become freed from sin. So I would say the latter. I don't chant to become free from sin. I chant, but it happens. When there's fire, it burns, but I don't use fire anyway. The main question is, if we do something bad, does that count as sin? Well, if it's sinful, it counts as sin. Supposing you steal, or supposing you murder, or supposing you do sin, it counts as sin. No, it's not because I'm chanting, I can murder, I can steal, or I can do bad stuff. And it's okay because I'm chanting and I won't get any reaction for my sin because I'm chanting. We don't think like that. One who thinks like that is an offender to the name, and the effect of eradication of sin is stopped for the offender. The name may be there, but the sound may be there, but the person is not there because of the offensiveness. So, but yes, if we do something, as unknowingly, let's just say, we all drive cars. So if you drive a car and you break the speeding limit, and a trooper pulls you over and says, "Let me see your license and registration," and they give you a summons because you were speeding. It's not like, well, look, I chant Hare Krishna, so I don't have to pay this fine, or I don't have to stay within the speed limit. If we do something wrong, we're responsible for that something that we do. But it's specifically as far as sin, then the reaction of sin can certainly be eradicated by continuing to chant, but we don't purposefully, knowingly go on continuing sinning, think it's nope, just fine. I'll just wash my hands in the sink and they'll be clean. That's offense. So we don't think like that. But yes, the potency of the name can eradicate the reaction of sin. But I'm still responsible for things that I do, right or wrong.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay? Anything else? She has something. Could you help Vrindavan just carry the microphone? When it turns green, you're on.
Hare Krishna, Guru
You're on.
Maharaj. I just want a solution to my problem.
You do?
Yeah. So, like, my problem is, my mind is very fluctuating. Like, I get influenced by good as well as bad equally. So, sometimes I get totally confused what is right and what is wrong. Like, when I read Bhagavatam with the devotees in the association of devotees, when I hear some very heartfelt pastime of Krishna, I feel like
it.
what
Let me go. Let's go.
3 or 4 days, like whenever I chant, I think of that pastime. I feel like very, very good and heartfelt. But when again I hear someone saying that no, nothing is written like that in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna never said that I am the God, I am the Supreme, just pray me. It's just that
But he does say
do
that.
it humanity.
Well, the answer to that is just become familiar with Bhagavad Gita, and you can smile when your acquaintance says Krishna doesn't say that, just do good philanthropy for the world, and that's all you have to do. You smile because you know what Krishna says. I mean, just on that you gave an example, but on that particular example, just become familiar with Bhagavad Gita, because that's light, and over there is something other than light. Somebody says, no, this is more light than that. You smile. Because you know what Krishna says. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate iti madva bhajan. So, you know what it says. You smile. That's not what Krishna says. Just do philanthropy. Just help poor people. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worship me. Krishna doesn't say that. You smile. Well, you're influenced is where you started. So you need ballast. You know what ballast is? Here's a ship, and here comes a storm. It goes like this. The boat rocks. So what they do with ships is they put some heavy weight at the bottom of the ship, so it doesn't tilt so much. That's called ballast. Some, different ways of doing it, but that's a rule in building ships. You have to have a lot of weight at the bottom. So you need a lot of weight at the bottom. That ballast is Guru Sadhu Shastra. You become very familiar in these readings that you're doing. You just do it regularly. Look, I've been doing this for 50 plus years. I got a lot of ballast. I could share some with you. But that's where you become stable instead of influenced by. What you described is, you probably won't be surprised. It's in Scripture. It's called Komala Shraddha. It's faith, Shraddha, that's not yet matured. It's soft and pliable is how it's described. Exactly what you said. And to go from that soft and pliable to the madhyama stage is by the process of hearing and chanting in the association of sadhus, devotees, sadhus. And then you start to understand. And when that stage comes, that madhyama stage, you may not be able to defeat opposing arguments, but your faith is strong. It's not soft and pliable anymore. So that's the ballast that keeps you, steady. There's still, the waves come and the ship may tilt this way, but you're not going to turn over because you have some ballast. And you keep going forward with that same process, the Shravanam, Kirtanam, in the association of devotees. And then it becomes matured, not just, the intermediate or madhyama stage, but the more matured stage. That's the process. Very simple. So in short, continue in the association of devotees, engaging in hearing and chanting as you're doing. And then that soft and pliable stage will become a little more firm. You'll have, conviction. I may not be able to answer all their stuff. That's okay. But I'm not moved by their stuff because I have sufficient faith. Nishtha, it's called. Steady faith. Nishtha. And there's anishtata, unsteady. Whoa. Soft and pliable. Becomes eventually nishtha. Steady. And not perfect, but steady.
Thank you, Maharaj.
All right. Anybody else here would like to raise something? Yes? No? Not sure? Because otherwise we'll go online. You want something or no? No? Okay. Online, do we have?
This question is from Taruni Radha Mataji. So when one tolerates and continues to worship Krishna with the intention that at the end they will gain entrance to the spiritual world, does this not constitute as fruitive activity?
It does not constitute as fruitive activity. It constitutes faith. There's a more, using the same word, a more mature stage of faith where it says, you know what? If Krishna wants me to stay here and serve him here, that's just fine, because what's important to me is service to him. Now there's a clue or secret that says serving him, even when here, you're with him. You're connected. You follow? So it's not fruitive exactly. It's faithful. Now, supposing somebody is just like a salvationist, let me out of here. This place is crazy, and then that's a little extreme, and that is it's mixed. It's what's in it for me consciousness. But wanting to attain the association of the Supreme, that's devotional. I mean, so it depends on the degree of selfishness. Who's at the center? Degree of selfishness. Go ahead.
She had, the second part of the question was, is it better to just tolerate knowing that it's one's past reaction which is subsidized by Krishna's mercy, and also that it will please Krishna?
Well, tolerating is always good because that's a mode of goodness quality. When tolerating, however, you may take some action depending upon what the circumstances. Like, the example, you're in a car accident. Well, just tolerate. Or you go to a doctor. Or you go to the emergency. You fix your broken leg or whatever it is. You take some action. Depends. Circumstance is going to help determine what action, if any, one will take. But you certainly tolerate the pain of the broken leg because that misfortune came because of some misdeed in the past. So I'm not just going to whine and complain about the pain. I'm going to accept that this was a necessity that came my way because of something in the past. I don't remember what it is. Okay.
This question is from Jyotirmaya Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, I heard you say that karma and time does not affect devotees. Can you please elaborate a little bit about it, if possible?
Well, the time, just like, I'm a senior citizen, and at some point, the soul is going to leave the body for every one of us. So time affects aging, death. Time moves. So we're affected in that sense by time, but happiness and connection with the Supreme isn't affected by time. It's winter in Chicago, so time is affecting us because it's cold, so we just wear a jacket. And after a while, I'm sure it's going to snow, so we don't just wear a jacket, we put something on our feet. So we take time affects us or affects us in the sense of what behaviors we're going to do on the outside, but it doesn't affect our Krishna consciousness. Time and karma do not affect consciousness.
This question is from Priya Kishori Mataji. Can Krishna punish someone by taking away devotee association? And if that happens, how do we take the situation to build relation with Krishna?
Well, why would Krishna do that? Now, circumstance may be that one is, I know some people that are in very remote places and they don't have any proximate devotee association. But then they find other means, especially these days with technology, there's other means of association. So the topic is a bit notional. I know somebody that they graduated from college, they got a job in a place that's really far, where there's no temple, it's like way out there. But they have association. And in time, presumably, circumstance will evolve such that they'll have a job where they have more devotee association, or they'll make association where they are because they're devotees. So it's not Krishna will punish you by taking away devotee association, unless you're an offender. Then you may go to a dark place besides just where there's no devotee association. That's it. Okay. Anything further in the room? Anyone? Yes? No? How about the two boys here? Anything?
No, I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay. He's very clear about that. We have something more.
I know.
Okay.
About making right choices. Sometimes it's easy to choose from favorable versus unfavorable, or just like right versus wrong, outright clear. And sometimes it feels like the options are little like hazy or unclear, whether it is really unfavorable or is it really favorable. So when that confusion comes, what should be the approach?
There's a number, you do brainstorming. Here, what are my, so if you don't know, you can just pause. But in some cases, you have to act. You know, indecision is another decision. But in some cases, you have to make a decision. When those cases come, if you don't have to, you may not make a decision until you are a little more clear. And if it's hazy, but you have to do something, so you start to move down, you consult others that are wise, and you start to move down that which seems to be the most plausible, all the while looking for some prompt from Krishna, no, that wasn't the right decision. And then you're very willing to, as circumstance permits, to do a U-turn and go the other direction or some other direction, to recalibrate the direction you move in. Okay? I wrote an essay like so many years ago on exactly this topic, how to make decisions when it's a little hazy. If you remind me, and I'll see if I can find it. Okay.
Especially it gets difficult when my indecision is affecting another person's.
Generally, our decisions do affect some other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not in a vacuum.
I think there's another question
Okay.
from Amara Mataji. My question is about staying in relationship.
About which?
Staying in relationship with Krishna.
Okay.
Regardless of good or bad fortune. When some scary situation or misfortune is faced, and I try to take shelter by chanting, etc., and yet do not feel shelter due to my own lack of receptivity, then it feels much lack of faith and effort on my own side. Is this lack of faith?
Yes.
If so, what can I do to strengthen it?
Do those things to strengthen faith. You know what those things are. We've discussed this in the past. You act in knowledge. Those things that you do know, it increases faith. When you hear from authority like Krishna, and you act according to that, when you act in knowledge, something happens. And that increases faith. That's something that happens, says, wow. Like, I'm thirsty, so I drink some water and it quenches my thirst. Oh, I got a little realization about water quenches my thirst. When you act in knowledge, it increases faith. So those things that you do understand, you do those things, and that your faith will increase. There's many things to say about increasing faith. But that's a principle. Read Bhagavad Gita, right? Read Bhagavad Gita regularly and your faith will increase. And apply the thing that you have read and your faith will increase. Okay. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai.
Oh my.